The vast darkness of space held secrets beyond human imagination. On an ordinary Tuesday morning, as coffee shops in Seoul buzzed with early commuters and office workers checked their emails, something extraordinary was happening far above Earth's atmosphere. Captain June Park sat in the underground monitoring station, his fingers dancing across holographic screens. The room was cold, sterile, with blue-tinted lights reflecting off metal surfaces. His team of specialists watched silently, their eyes fixed on the unexpected readings emerging from deep space. First, it was just a tiny blip, a slight distortion, in the electromagnetic spectrum. Then another, and another. Something was approaching Earth, something that didn't match any known satellite or space debris configuration. "Enhance Grid Sector 7 Alpha," June commanded, his voice calm but sharp. A massive metallic object gradually materialized on the massive screen. Its design was unlike anything human engineers had ever conceptualized. Sleek, yet menacing. Curved, edges that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. This was no human spacecraft. Alien reconnaissance drones began scanning Earth's major cities: Tokyo, New York, London, Beijing. Each probe moved with calculated precision, collecting data streams that would be transmitted back to their mothership. What they didn't know was that humans had been preparing for this moment for decades. Hidden monitoring stations across continents were already tracking every microscopic movement. Advanced quantum computers processed alien transmission frequencies faster than the invaders could encrypt them. Military strategists worldwide were being silently alerted. In a small research facility near Busan, Dr. Elena Kim reviewed the initial EO scan reports. Her team had developed sophisticated counter-surveillance technologies specifically designed for potential extraterrestrial encounters. What seemed like a random collection of scientific equipment was actually a complex defense network. "They're scanning electromagnetic signatures," she muttered, adjusting her glasses. Typical reconnaissance strategy. The alien craft maintained a perfect distance from Earth, close enough to gather intelligence but far enough to avoid immediate detection by conventional radar systems. They believed themselves undetectable, invisible to human technology. They were wrong. June watched as the alien probes continued their systematic survey. Each movement was precise, almost mathematical. But beneath their technological sophistication, humans had something they didn't anticipate: adaptability, creativity, and an unexpected level of preparedness. Military communication channels remained silent. No aggressive moves, no panic. Just cold, calculated observation. The alien commander, sitting thousands of light years away, reviewed initial data streams. Earth appeared primitive. Their technology seemed rudimentary. Metal structures, basic communication networks, linear, transportation systems, perfect for potential colonization. What the alien commander didn't understand was human resilience. In underground bunkers, in secret military installations, in research centers across the globe, humanity was already mounting a response, not through immediate aggression, but through strategic preparation. Quantum encryption systems were being activated. Experimental weapon platforms were being calibrated. Global communication networks were being synchronized with unprecedented speed and efficiency. The aliens believed they were conducting a simple reconnaissance mission, a preliminary assessment of a potential target. They had no idea they were walking into a meticulously prepared trap. As the first alien probe completed its initial scan of Seoul's technological district, something unexpected happened. For a brief millisecond, its transmission signal flickered. Just a tiny interruption that most would consider insignificant. But June Park saw it, and he smiled. The game had begun. Massive computer screens displayed complex data streams. Technicians worked, silently, their fingers moving across holographic interfaces. Military personnel from different countries were already coordinating through encrypted channels. The alien craft continued its survey, completely unaware that every single movement was being tracked, analyzed, and countered. First contact had been made. But this was far from a simple encounter. This was humanity's first step in showing the universe that they were not just another species to be conquered. The world changed in those first few hours after the alien discovery. Governments that had been bitter enemies suddenly found themselves united by a common threat. Conference rooms in secure locations around the globe, filled with military leaders, scientists, and political strategists. President David Hahn stood at the center of the most critical meeting. His eyes were calm, but his hands were clasped tightly behind his back. The room was silent, filled with the most brilliant minds humanity could assemble. "We have 72 hours, he said simply. 72 hours to prepare our defense. Underground research facilities that had been working on top-secret projects suddenly burst into full activity. Experimental weapons systems that had been hidden for decades were now being brought into the light. Quantum computing networks hummed with intense energy, processing data at speeds that would have seemed impossible just days before. In a hidden laboratory near the Korean demilitarized zone, Dr. Elena Kim worked furiously. Her team of engineers and scientists had been preparing for something like this their entire careers. Prototype defense systems that looked more like science fiction than military technology were being activated. Electromagnetic pulse generators, capable of disabling entire electronic systems, were carefully calibrated. Stealth technology that could make entire spacecraft invisible to conventional and advanced tracking systems was being fine-tuned. Experimental weapon platforms that could strike with pinpoint accuracy were being programmed. Military bases around the world transformed overnight. Soldiers who had been training for conventional warfare were now being briefed on extraterrestrial combat strategies. Pilots trained on advanced simulation systems that modeled potential alien ship movements. Every branch of military service was being reorganized with one goal: planetary defense. Satellite networks were repositioned. Communication systems were encrypted with multiple layers of protection. Global positioning systems were adjusted to track potential alien approach vectors. What seemed like chaos was actually a perfectly orchestrated global response. In the United States, military research facilities worked around the clock. Advanced weapons that had been theoretical concepts were now being rushed into production. Experimental plasma shields, quantum communication interceptors, and high-energy particle weapons were being assembled. The technology world watched in silent anticipation. Companies that had been competing now shared resources. Tech giants put aside their differences, understanding that this was bigger than corporate rivalries. Every piece of technological innovation was now focused on a single purpose. Captain June Park reviewed the global preparation status. He knew they had one chance. One opportunity to show the aliens that Earth was not a simple target. "We are not just defending ourselves," he told his team. "We are sending a message to the entire universe." Massive underground bunkers became command centers. Communication networks that had been separate were now completely integrated. Military units from different countries trained together, sharing strategies and technologies. Scientific research facilities that had been working on theoretical physics suddenly found their most extreme concepts becoming practical solutions. Energy weapons that could disable entire spacecraft, defensive systems that could create localized force fields, communication interceptors that could break down alien encryption in milliseconds. The world had never been more united. Every major city became a potential defense point. Urban infrastructure was quietly modified. Underground networks were prepared. Communication systems were hardened against potential electronic attacks. In space, experimental satellites were repositioned. Some were armed with defensive capabilities that went far beyond traditional military technology. Quantum communication systems were activated, creating a global defense network that could respond faster than any alien technology could predict. Military training changed overnight. Soldiers were now learning how to fight an enemy that was technologically superior. New combat strategies were developed. Psychological preparation became as important as physical training. The 72 hours ticked away. Each minute was filled with intense preparation. Each second was a step towards a potential global defense. Humanity was no longer waiting. They were preparing to fight back, and they were going to make sure the universe knew they were not an easy target. The preparation had begun. The Zarian invasion fleet approached Earth with cold calculation. Commander Raxus stood on the bridge of his flagship, confident in their technological superiority. His scaled hands touched the navigation controls, believing Earth would surrender within hours. Massive alien ships filled the upper atmosphere, their metallic surfaces reflecting the sunlight. Each vessel represented centuries of advanced technological development. Weapon systems charged, attack formations locked into position. They expected no resistance. Captain June Park watched from the underground command center. His fingers moved across holographic displays with surgical precision. Beside him, Dr. Elena Kim monitored complex quantum communication networks. "Targets locked," she whispered. The first alien probe entered Earth's immediate orbital zone. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. Communication systems began to flicker. Navigation controls started to malfunction. Weapon platforms went dark. Quantum. Interceptors developed by human scientists were working perfectly. Each alien system was being systematically disabled without a single physical weapon being fired. Commander Raxus felt the first hint of panic. "System status," he shouted to his DITE technical team. Nothing worked. Their most advanced technology was being completely neutralized by an invisible force. Stealth human spacecraft emerged from strategic orbital positions. They were invisible to conventional tracking systems. Designed with experimental quantum camouflage technology, these ships moved like ghosts through the alien fleet. Precision strikes eliminated critical alien ship systems, not with massive explosions, but with calculated electronic disruptions that rendered entire vessels completely useless. The Zarian fleet, believed to be invincible, was being systematically dismantled without firing a single traditional weapon. June's voice remained calm. "Stage 2 activation," he commanded. Experimental plasma weapons began targeting specific points on alien vessels. Each strike was calculated to maximum effect, with minimum energy expenditure. The human strategy was clear. Complete destruction was not the goal. Demonstrating superiority was alien communication channels filled with panic. Their most advanced battleships were being neutralized by a species they had considered primitive. Commander Raxus could not comprehend what was happening. "Impossible," he screamed, watching his fleet being systematically disabled. Human technology moved with unexpected speed and precision. Quantum computing systems processed alien technological frequencies faster than the invaders could adapt. Every alien defensive mechanism was anticipated, countered, and neutralized. Within minutes, the massive Zarian invasion fleet was reduced to floating debris. No massive explosions, no dramatic battles. Just cold, calculated technological superiority. Dr. Elena Kim looked at the displays. "Total fleet neutralization complete," she reported. President David Hahn watched the reports from a secure underground facility. A slight smile crossed his face. Humanity had just sent a message to the universe. The message was simple. Earth was not a target. Earth was a defender. Rescue teams were already preparing to collect technological remnants from the destroyed alien fleet. Every piece of alien technology would be studied, analyzed, and potentially used to improve human defense systems. Communication networks across the planet began broadcasting the victory, not with celebration, but with a calm, calculated announcement of what had occurred. June Park reviewed the final battle statistics. The human cost had been minimal. The technological victory was complete. As the last alien vessel was disabled, a single transmission was prepared, short, direct, uncompromising. To any potential invaders, this is Earth's response to aggression. The universe had just learned a critical lesson about humanity. They were not a species to be underestimated. The first strike was complete, and it was a strike that would be remembered. Throughout the galaxies, humanity had defended its home, and they had done so with a level of strategic brilliance that would become legendary. The message was clear. Earth was ready, Earth was prepared, and Earth would not be conquered. The transmission room was silent. Captain June Park stood before a complex array of communication systems, preparing a message that would echo across multiple star systems. Dr. Elena Kim adjusted the final quantum encryption protocols. "This needs to be perfect," June said quietly. Global leaders had spent hours crafting every single word. The message needed to be clear, precise, uncompromising. President David Hahn reviewed the final draft. Each word was chosen with mathematical precision. The communication would not just be a warning, it would be a statement of humanity's resolve. The transmission began. "To the Zarian Imperium and all galactic civilizations, we did not seek this conflict. You approached our planet with intentions of conquest. Your reconnaissance and invasion attempts have been completely neutralized. This is our only warning. Earth is not a colony. We are not a resource to be exploited. Any future attempts at invasion will be met with total technological destruction. We possess capabilities far beyond your current understanding. Our defensive technologies can disable entire fleets without firing a single traditional weapon. We can neutralize your most advanced systems in milliseconds. We do not desire war, but we are prepared to defend ourselves with absolute precision. Consider this your first and final warning." The message was encoded across multiple frequency bands. Quantum communication systems ensured it would be received by every potential alien civilization within range. Accompanying the transmission were precise video recordings, footage of the complete alien fleet's neutralization, technical demonstrations of human technological capabilities, silent, cold evidence of their defensive power. Communication networks across different star systems began picking up the transmission. Advanced civilizations received the message, studying it with increasing concern. In the Zarian Imperium's central command, leadership watched the recordings in stunned silence. Their most advanced invasion fleet, reduced to floating debris by a species they had considered primitive. "They destroyed our entire fleet," one senior commander whispered, "without traditional weapons." The implications were terrifying. A species that could disable advanced technological systems without direct confrontation represented an unprecedented threat. Quantum communication networks began spreading the message, not through aggressive broadcasts, but through precise, calculated information exchanges. Each transmission carried the same clear warning: Earth was not a target. Dr. Elena Kim monitored the global communication systems. Every transmission was tracked, every potential response analyzed. The Human Defense Network remained on high alert. "Transmission complete," she reported to June. The warning was sent. Now they would wait. Global military installations remained, at maximum preparedness. Research facilities continued developing additional defensive technologies. Every potential scenario was being analyzed and prepared for. President David Hahn understood the critical nature of this moment. This was more than a military communication. This was humanity's first true interaction with potential galactic civilizations. The message needed to be clear, respectful, but absolutely uncompromising. Communication experts had spent weeks ensuring the transmission would be understood across different technological and linguistic systems. Universal mathematical principles were embedded within the message, ensuring comprehension regardless of communication methods. June Park watched the communication systems. His team had prepared for every potential response. Counter-communication. Strategies were ready. Additional defensive protocols were in place. Hours passed, then days. The galactic response was something nobody had anticipated. Silence. But it was a silence filled with a new understanding. Civilizations across multiple star systems now recognized Earth not as a potential target, but as a civilization to be respected. Humanity had sent its message, and the universe was listening. The warning was complete. Earth had spoken, and they would not be silenced. The universe changed after that day. Galactic communication networks buzzed with a new narrative about Earth, a planet that had transformed from an unknown species to a civilization of unexpected power. In deep space communication centers, Alien civilizations analyzed the recordings of human technological defense. What they saw was beyond comprehension. A species that could neutralize an entire invasion fleet without traditional weapons challenged everything they understood about technological warfare. Captain June Park sat in the orbital command station, watching the slow transformation of human reputation. Dr. Elena Kim stood beside him, reviewing ongoing communication intercepts. "They're talking about us," she said quietly. Whispers spread across star systems. Stories of humans became legend. Not as a warrior race, but as a strategic, intelligent civilization that could defend itself with unprecedented precision. The Zarian Imperium's leadership was in complete shock. Their most advanced fleet, reduced to floating debris by a species they had considered insignificant. Military strategists studied the human response, trying to understand the technological marvel they had encountered. Diplomatic channels across different civilizations began changing. Earth was no longer seen as a potential colony. It was recognized as a sovereign planet with capabilities that demanded respect. Research facilities worldwide continued developing advanced technologies. What had been theoretical concepts were now practical defensive systems. Universities and scientific institutions collaborated at unprecedented levels. President David Hahn understood the deeper implications. This was more than a military victory. This was humanity's first true introduction to the galactic community. Global unity emerged from the conflict. Countries that had been historical enemies now worked together with remarkable coordination. Military research, technological development, and diplomatic strategies were shared openly. Quantum communication networks mapped potential alien approach vectors. Experimental defense platforms were positioned strategically around Earth's orbital zones. Every technological resource was focused on planetary protection. Alien civilizations began sending careful diplomatic communications. Not invasion attempts, but cautious exploratory messages. They wanted to understand the species that could disable an entire invasion fleet in minutes. June watched the incoming transmissions. Each message was carefully analyzed. Quantum decryption. Systems processed every communication, ensuring no hidden threats existed. "They're learning," Elena observed. "We're teaching them that Earth is not a target." The economic impact was substantial. Technology companies that had been working on experimental defense systems suddenly became global leaders. Scientific innovations accelerated at unprecedented rates. Military training changed completely. Soldiers were no longer just physical fighters. They became technological strategists, trained in quantum communication, advanced defensive technologies, and strategic planetary protection. Space exploration programs received massive funding. If humans could defend against an advanced alien invasion, they could certainly explore and understand deeper space technologies. Psychological impact was profound. Humanity's collective consciousness shifted. They were no longer just inhabitants of a small planet. They were a civilization capable of defending themselves against technologically superior opponents. The aftermath was not about celebration. It was about preparation. Continuous technological advancement. Strategic global unity. Alien civilizations began establishing communication protocols with Earth. Careful, respectful, understanding that this was a civilization that demanded equal treatment. Research institutions worldwide studied every piece of alien technology recovered from the destroyed fleet. Each fragment represented a potential technological leap for human understanding. June and Elena continued monitoring global defense systems. The threat was neutralized, but vigilance remained critical. "We showed them who we are," June said finally. Elena nodded. "We showed them humanity is not a target. We are defenders." Global communication networks continued spreading the message, not through aggression, but through a calm, calculated demonstration of technological superiority. Earth had spoken, and the universe was listening. The first contact was complete. Humanity's reputation was forever changed. They were no longer just another species in the universe. They were a civilization to be respected. A civilization that would defend itself. Civilization that had arrived on the galactic stage. They were a force to be reckoned with.